Be a Revolution, written by Ijeoma Oluo and published by Harper in January of 2022, with a snippet read by Richard Coombs. Available for checkout right now at the Alice Pendleton Library. If you write or speak on issues of race and racism, you'll often hear statements and questions like these. Racism is horrible. I wish there was something I could do. Racism is horrible, but it's too big of a problem to know where to start. We won't be able to fix racism until we get a new great leader like Martin Luther King Jr. When is somebody going to do something about racism? I wish I could do something about racism, but I'm not an activist. Often, if I don't have a quick, clear response to these questions and statements, people become frustrated. Am I actually an expert on racism if I can't solve racism? Others don't come to a talk or read a book for solutions. The simple act of engaging with the work of anti-racist scholars is enough. Feeling bad about racism is the same thing as doing something about racism, right? But in all seriousness, systemic racism is a very complex and vast issue with no one solution. And many people, with the sincerest of intentions to make a difference, don't know where to start. We know something needs to be done. In fact, it seems like everything needs to be done. So where do we find our part? Is there a part in this work for us at all? When we're overwhelmed by the scope of the problem, or the lack of clear guidance or next steps, we may default to sharing a status on social media, signing a petition, hoping somebody will announce a protest online in our neighborhood that we can join, or sending a few dollars to one of the more well-known anti-racist organizations we've heard of. I've spent most of my writing career trying to explain these complex issues in an accessible way, so people will have a better chance of putting that understanding to work. But I'm not a movement organizer. It's not a fit for my personality or my skill set. One thing I hope will be clear in this book is that we all have different work to do in the fight for liberation, and writing is my space right now. I cannot give people their own personal path through movement work. I cannot mentor frontline movement workers. I cannot organize the protests for you to join. I can't organize anything at all, actually, as evidenced by the 51,000 unread emails currently sitting in my inbox that will never be sorted, replied to, or deleted. They just live there now. But I can show you some of the paths that others have taken in their revolutionary journeys. I can show you how people with vastly different skills, abilities, privileges, experiences, and more have found their own place in movement work, and have been creating vital change within those spaces. I can show you that no matter who you are, if you want to be involved in this revolution, there is a space for you. I didn't write this book only for what it might give others. In fact, one of my greatest motivations was what I hoped the book might give me. By the time I sat down to figure out what my next project would be, I had been writing books on racism in America for 5 years straight. My first book, So You Want to Talk About Race, had me neck deep in my own personal history with racism. My second book, Mediocre, The Dangerous Legacy of White Male America, had me neck deep in the history of violent white male supremacy in the US. After 5 years on these projects, I was done. My heart and soul as a black woman were so hurt. I had spent years of my time and talent in places of pain and horror. And yes, I'm very proud of what I was able to create from those places. But whatever limits I had set, I'd long since worked past them, and I felt wrung dry. In some of my most difficult moments, it was the support of my family and the support of others in the anti-racist movement community, especially black women, who cared for me and gave me the safety and space to continue to move forward. My initial plan, after finishing my last book tour, was to just spend time in the community. Find time with people who were proving every single day that all was not lost, that every day there was vital work to do, work that was providing important victories for people we love. But as I spent more time planning the beginning of my healing journey, I realized I wanted my words and work to go towards sharing the stories and insights of these amazing people who give me hope every day. Once I decided this would be my next book, I was excited to begin. I knew it would likely be an enriching and challenging project for me. But I was not prepared for how changed I would be by this book. The hours upon hours of conversations I have been able to have with movement workers have fundamentally changed the way I see this work and my place in it. I feel opened up to possibility in a way I never have before. I feel more hopeful of what we can accomplish than I ever have.